I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you again to your TVPOA board meeting. We're continuing to operate under our COVID-19 protocols to protect our meeting participants, and today one of our members is attending remotely. To ensure transparency and to allow community participation, this meeting is being live streamed. It's also being recorded and will be available on the POA website. By now, I'm sure most of you have heard that Governor Lee has issued a new executive order, number 59, which extends all of the guidelines that we have been operating under until September 30th. Basically, what this means is that we will have another month of the status quo. Winston Blazer will address this further in his COVID operations update. What comes after September 30th is anybody's guess. We've been strictly adhering to state and CDC guidance for two very good reasons. To protect our residents, as Tellico Village is practically the very definition of a vulnerable population. And second, by following state and CDC guidelines, we protect the POA and all of us as members from liability claims. So with that, let's get started. I need a motion to approve the August 19th, 2020 TVPOA board minutes as presented. Pat?
Second.
Motion.
Marty? Changes? Okay, all in favor? 7-0. So we'll move on to you, Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. This COVID report, COVID's operation report. I want to reiterate some of the guidelines, some of the operational guidelines we're following and procedures we're following to maintain, to keep us in line with the requirements laid on us by the governor. We want to do our two biggest operations that involve property owners, golf and rec. In the golf operation, I'll cover first. They've been managing this very well. Our golf crew has done an outstanding job of doing two things: maintaining the COVID requirements put on us by the governor, and also employing and using some creative ideas to keep our property owners golfing. You'll see the results of that when Chris gives his report. The golf play, in spite of all the rain we've had this year, is way ahead of last year's levels of golf at this time. Very proud of our golf crew and our rec crew, but some of the things that they have done, have electronic check-in for golfing, so a person literally can go to the golf course and does not have to go and have contact with any personnel in the pro shop. They have established a one-way traffic flow to hold down on the congestion and personal contact. They enforce social distancing around the golf operations. They have established safety barriers in the sales positions and set up sanitation stations throughout the golf shop for the safety of our employees and the safety of our property owners that visit those shops. They have taken a thorough look at the golf operation itself, the golf operation of playing golf I'm referring to, and have removed many of the touch points, and they are routinely disinfecting golf carts and contact points that our property owners come in contact through their normal use of our golf operations. Carts are being used. There are barriers available for non-family members that want to share a cart, and also for a nominal additional fee, a person could get a solo cart. And in this review of our golf operations, many of the items that we would consider contact points, non-essential items, have been taken off the golf course, so they're not employed or won't be used, and reduce the contact with possible contamination. Things like rakes in the bunkers, etc. So kudos to our golf team. They've done a very creative job of keeping the golf world moving. The next department I want to talk about is in the rec world. The COVID-19 event that has occurred in 2020 has been very hard on that bunch also. Would like to remind the board that we've had to employ additional staff on a temporary basis to help us comply with the orders and guidelines handed down by the state. Kahidi has designated staff that will check people in. Chota likewise has designated staff to check people in. And the Wellness Center has additional staff to do that. 6 in all, additional people that we normally wouldn't have. All the facilities are reserved online through a quick equity software. We are allowing the use for members only. The members must sign in and are quizzed upon arrival to make sure that we have no one that we think may be spreading COVID-19 germs. Water fountains are closed, pavilions are closed, playgrounds remain closed, all in accordance with guidelines. Group fitness classes are limited to 45 minutes, maximum of 25 people, with designated 6-foot areas for members to stay in. The members will enter one way and exit out another door, so there's no congestion on the flow process. Pool sessions are separated into 45-minute sessions. There's lane reservations used for fitness groups and water aerobics and open swim. And the Chota pool, 25 members max, Kahidi pool, 10 members max. All of that is in conjunction with following guidelines. The pickleball and tennis courts, the use is done by reservation, and that's done online. We have moved some exercise equipment from the Wellness Center to the Chota Rec Center into one of the large meeting rooms to try to create additional cardio exercising capabilities for our property owners. That has been very beneficial. I thought that was a very creative use of space that otherwise wouldn't have been used. The racquetball courts are closed to group play, but are opened up for individual play. And badminton is open, and they have social distancing guidelines that they must follow. There's been a number of changes when it comes to fitness classes. One of the things that I think is really creative that Simon and the rec crew deserves a lot of credit for is thinking outside the box and trying to figure out how to, follow the guidelines that have been handed down to us, but still find ways to keep the property owners, find ways for the property owners to use their amenities. They still have, they have created a 6-hole disc golf course for outside use. People can play that and get some outside activity. We continue with the paddle board and kayak classes. Reservations are made for those. Social distancing is enforced. They have outdoor yoga classes that are being held at the Yacht Club and also on the back patio at the Wellness Center, which is a very beautiful site. Those are, I believe, held early in the morning. The masks are being used by all the staff at the wellness operation, and they are encouraging strongly that our property owners do the same. I just want to congratulate both of those managements, rec and golf, on their creativity, keeping in mind that we must follow the guidelines handed down by the state, and coming up with new ways and creative ways to get property owners out and using our amenities and facilities. There is additional cost in this, and it's it'll be tallied up and all wrapped up into our income statements over the months and accumulated in a report given at the year end. But we're making it, and there's, in certain cases, we are learning new ways to operate, and we are learning better ways to manage certain situations and to try to pull a silver lining out of this gray cloud we're gonna come out of this probably in a better operation. And that's all I've got for report, Mr. President.
Any questions for Winston? Nope. Thank you, Winston, appreciate it. And as you will all recall, we formed a committee to try to address the situation at Tugaloo, and Sue English Kovar is going to present an update on that.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Progress to date. So our team, who you can see here, these are the members of our team. We have met twice now and made some good progress already. We started by reviewing all of the community feedback that was given to us through various POA communication vehicles. So we've reviewed quite a bit of information, and it was off of that information that we validated exactly what issues it was that we needed to research. So we've gone through, we've assigned those issues. Each one of the committee members has been given an issue to sort of own and drive down into, if you will. And we've begun the issue fact gathering. So all of the things that we need to know, in fact, about a given issue. Oh, thank you. So making sure that we know exactly what procedures are for any given piece of this, so that we know as well as we can exactly where the 820 line is and exactly what that means in terms of what we can and can't do. So we're in the process of doing that. That's going along very well. And we will begin at our next meeting to start looking through recommendations on each of the issues that have been determined. As well, I'd like to say that things don't just stop. So the staff has done a great job since we've already designated that, or determined that we should have a designated smoking area. That has been created, and also we've got quite a few preliminary no smoking signs added to the area. I suspect next year we'll see more prevalent signage for those kinds of things, but right now we do have those things out there. We will continue to do the Tugaloo traffic logs and traffic data. These are happening now instead of going from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, given the fact that we do have a rather low population of people coming during the day on the weekdays. We're doing them at varying times of the day. Over the Labor Day weekend, though, we will be gathering that information from morning to evening, because that will be the closest set of days that would mirror anything like what we would have during summertime. So that's what's going on now. Our goal is to report and provide recommendations to the board at the October 7th board meeting. Any questions?
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Just a question on the participation from our property owners with regard to this subject and the COVID subject. Did we have any questions from our audience once the board gets done with this?
What? I'm sorry, I don't.
Who's monitoring? Yeah.
I'm monitoring it, and we do have a question, but it's about Tugaloo. We didn't have any questions about the COVID presentation.
Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome. The question we have is from Cap Purvis, and he wants to know what is all the additional cleaning adding to the expenses at the beach? Do we have any information about that?
I don't have those numbers at my fingertips right now. I can certainly get that information. Yes, sir?
I don't know the dollar amount, but having observed, there are approximately 4 to 5 people that report there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Normally, they're gone by 6:20. They have motorized, and all they've done is, instead of starting their schedule where they normally did, Clayton and Simon moved them to stop there first. So
okay.
by the time the sand is sifted in the morning, the parking lot the grass, everything is clear, and then they get in their truck and they go
So
mow,
it's your,
mow grass. and-
yeah, so Pat, I think what you're telling us, your suspicion is it's negligible. The
Yeah,
extra
but I don't
cost.
know the
Well,
amount.
it would be, that's something that we'll have to.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
bore
right.
down on.
Yeah,
You know, we just need to understand what it's costing us.
yeah.
Do we have any feedback on the no smoking or the smoking area? Is it working or?
You mean, since we put the signs up, I'd have to look at the anecdotal information, and I don't know for sure, yes.
We haven't heard any new complaints.
No, but in the audits that I do, because I still tend to go by there from time to time, and
As do I.
you haven't shown your numbers yet, but when you do, the audience is going to see primarily the numbers of people or residents and not contractors and not outside people visiting there. And in the beginning, before this sweeping cruise started, again, this is checking from 6:15 in the morning to 7:15 in the morning, then again at 8 o'clock to 8:15, 8:30 at night. The average number of cigarette butts and pieces of paper stayed the same.
Okay,
So,
got it.
when you put the no smoking in, the average number of cigarette butts and pieces of paper stayed the same.
Ah,
And they were in the same places. They were not in the no smoking zone.
Which means that it's not working.
And then the crew goes down there, and this is something that I would like for your group to address. When the crew goes down there at 6 o'clock and 6:15 in the morning and then spotlessly cleans this area, are we sending a message that the POA is becoming the janitorial service for villagers?
Well, of course we are.
Well, I think, and Sue and I have had this conversation, I think there is a stewardship involved in this. We pick up our own trash, we throw our own cigarette butts away. There are no smoking signs, there are ashtrays, there are all that, and it's so easy. As an example, one of the pictures I sent you was a person that sat down there in the pavilion on a rainy afternoon, because I know it was raining because I was down there. Dumped 5 cigarette butts at a grill, missed it 4 times, hit it once, and threw their apple cider alcoholic beverage caps in the grass as well. So I think it's important that we understand that we have to clean up behind ourselves, or we're going to pay as property owners somebody to clean up after us. It's a choice your group has to decide.
okay. Thanks for the observation.
You're
Well,
very welcome.
I would choose the former option.
Oh, really?
Which is, gee whiz, we should be responsible.
I would think so, yes.
So, I just have a quick question. Pat made mention that most of them are residents, and we talked about charging non-residents the $5 per carload, and you talked about the turnarounds and things like that. What about the contractors? Are we still letting them in to use the restroom facilities?
Well, I mean, like I said, we haven't come to any conclusions on recommendations yet.
Today, what are we doing?
Today, I mean, they come in and they turn around. Right,
Okay, so we are turning them around.
correct,
Okay, I was just curious.
yeah, so, yeah.
We have a couple of other questions from the
Okay.
audience. The first one is, can you increase the Tugaloo fee to $10 for this weekend?
I don't see
Question
any
becomes
need
why?
to do that.
I think he was just stating it because it was a holiday weekend and saw it as an opportunity to increase it. He didn't say.
Yeah.
That was just a question.
I think we
Another
want to
one-
leave it the same so that we can see what
Right.
the true impact is.
Well,
Exactly.
And if you remember, there was a conversation between Bruce, Carla, and I when this came up, and, excuse me, folks, I raised my hand and I just gleefed out there and said, charge them $10. Carla says, $10 a car? And Bruce
Right.
says, that's too much. And I said, no, $10 a head. And we're just, the
Well,
point,
and-
the point being that when that conversation came up, The idea was to have, and it doesn't matter if it's $1 or 25.
Exactly.
The idea was that there's something there that you can tell the people, we're doing this, and it's being deferred to the cleaning cost and/or whatever you want to tell that person that's not a POA member, that they in turn, you're giving them the idea that I have an obligation here too.
Right.
And so it was just $5. And the $5 seems to be working. It is, I
Well,
don't want to or I will.
You need to be consistent, you
Yeah.
know, if you're gonna have numbers that actually, you know, tell you something. So I wouldn't change it just for this weekend.
No. I mean, you know, we're not out to make this a money-making,
Yeah, we're sending a
thing here.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carla, was there another one? Okay. Then we'll move on.
I'm sorry,
So-
one just popped in that said, how many
Well,
people are
and you've got
being
a slide here,
turned away?
No, I'm
the
done.
number of people.
No, that
No,
was from
it's
last
not
time.
up there.
It wasn't,
Last
that
Oh.
was, those
Well-
weren't,
Well, anyway, to answer his question, if I might, just.
Well, let's read the question first,
Okay, read the question.
just to make sure people know what you're
I
answering.
already read it.
So Jack McCaffrey asked, how many people are being turned away from the beach area because they don't want to pay?
Well, Jack, I'm looking at the past slide from last month, or you want to review it?
oh, hey, you go ahead, Pat, you're on a roll.
So like Rick says, all you got to do is just put a clamp on my mouth. Jack, the numbers are for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days of non-residents that went in there are 11, 4, 7, 12, 8, 7, and 16. So it looks like it might be about 10 on a typical day. And the contractors looks like its average is about 6 or 7.
And this is stuff we went over last time.
Yeah, I know.
Is that contractors inclusive in the first number you did?
I can probably answer that since, you know, I put the data together.
Okay. Oh, please, please.
No, contractors were logged separately because I felt like they were kind of a separate thing. We were trying to measure how many non-residents, you know, more so, how many people are coming there to go to the beach and enjoy the amenities versus a contractor who is just coming probably to use the restroom facilities and eat their lunch. So I felt like I needed to kind of separate those two types of visitors.
Okay.
So on non-resident average traffic from this prior period, there were 16 non-residents, and 5 of them turned around when we said it's gonna be $5.
Right. So, very few stayed. I can tell you that just from the time when I was sitting there. Very few would stay and pay the $5, so.
Okay. Anything else? So Kevin Alfont is going to give us a demonstration on the new help ticket system.
Good afternoon. So this afternoon, I'm going to give you a brief update on the help ticket system that our membership will use to submit requests for help from the POA staff. And Shannon, you were right, that's very small on the screen. I should have listened to you, but we'll trudge through it. It's not important that you read it, it's more of the format
Oh my
of the
God.
slides. So if you recall, the product we decided to use was called HelpSpot. And we looked at 3 or 4 different vendors and ultimately decided to go with a product that we already had in-house that the IT department was using for trouble tickets. This time I'm not going to go into as much detail as I did last time, as very little has changed on the administrative side that the staff uses. So we'll focus mainly on the membership or end user side of the product. As you can see, the members would go to a URL or webpage that's tvpoa.helpspot.com.
Are we and the people on, are we supposed to be reading this?
What's that? No, you're not.
Oh, okay,
No.
all right.
This is just to show you, this is the landing page. This is the
Okay.
page that they will see when they first go to tvpoa.helpspot.com.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I'll explain to you, some of the verbiage and some of the links that are on the left side as we go along. So the overall theme of the page has been modified since you saw it last. We've gone from a gray-blue theme to a blue-white theme, which we feel projects a cleaner and brighter page. And we've added some links on the left side of the page for knowledge books and frequently asked questions, so that members might be able to answer frequently asked questions themselves without having to submit a ticket. And those frequently asked questions are in this area right here. I know you can't see it, but it says knowledge books and frequently asked questions right here. Also, on the bottom of every page, as they traverse through the pages, they can ask or type in any questions they have into this text box and hit a search button, and that'll bring up the same frequently asked question results. We added a little bit of more clarification verbiage in the middle of the body of the text. We worked with Ken Letke on this, and one thing he pointed out was there wasn't really a time for members to expect some type of result from the staff. So we added in there that they should expect the staff to respond to the request by 1 business day. Go to the next slide, please. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So this slide shows the former and new pages side by side. Specifically, this is the page where the member would complete and submit the request for help. The top half of the 2 pages are the same, but we've added some tools to the bottom half. So if you look all the way to where they put the description of the issue, everything is the same on the 2 pages. The first thing that we added on the new page is we've added where you can click and add up to 3 files or pictures to support your issue or your problem. Those can be Word documents, PDFs, pictures. They cannot be zip files, and they cannot be exe files or executable files. And we also changed the CAPTCHA to the little checkbox that's familiar with most people, that you're not a robot or a bot. And then you simply submit your request at that point. Next slide, please. So this is the page that the membership would see after submitting a request. Once a request is submitted, you will be given an access key. And we ask that the membership keep this access key written down, because this is the way they would come back to the page and check the progress of the ticket. They can come back to this site at any time and check the status of the ticket by using this access key. This page also gives a description of the issue that was submitted. So underneath the access key, you can see Kevin submitted a system or a request for help, and all it says is testing the system. If they have additional information, they can type it into the text box, or if they have an additional file they want to upload, they can click on this button and then update the request. Next slide, please. Immediately after the ticket is submitted, the member will be sent an email letting them know that the ticket's been received and is being reviewed by the staff. There's a link in the email that's sent to the members, and over here on the upper right-hand corner, I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can click on that, and it'll take you back to a web page where they can check the status of the ticket. So if they've forgotten the email address or forgotten their access key, but they have the email itself, they can click on that link, and it'll take them back to the web page to check on the status of the ticket. Also, the email shows them the ticket number at the top in the subject header. So if they're conversing with a staff member or POA member that's been assigned to the task, they can reference that, that ticket number, and they can pull up the history of the ticket. Next slide, please. So this is the page. If you were go to the main page and then click on check a request, this is the page you would be taken to. This is where you would enter in your access key. If you've forgotten your access key, you can type in your email address and a password. This was a little confusing to everybody who worked on it at first, Ken and Ellen and some other people. So we added some verbiage here to help them register their email address. They can't just type in their email address because there's not been a password issued at that point. They need to register that. So they can click on this entire thing here is a link, and they can click on that to register their email address and get issued a password. Next slide, please. So once an issue is resolved and the ticket's been closed, another email is sent to the member with a resolution. Looks exactly like the first email, but instead of the verbiage that would say, "We've received your request for help," it would have the resolution of the issue in the body of the email. Members will be sent emails anytime the ticket's updated or changed and can correspond with the assigned staff member by replying to this email. Email correspondence is automatically added to the ticket history. If the ticket is closed and a member responds to the email or decides to add an update to the ticket through the web portal or through this email, the ticket is immediately reopened. So ultimately, the member themselves accepts or rejects the closing of the ticket. The ticket won't be closed until the member says it's closed. If they add anything to the email correspondence or to the web page, the ticket's immediately reopened and a staff member is notified. Next slide. In addition to the email that's generated by the help desk system at the ticket's closing, an additional email is generated at the closing of a ticket that allows the member to rate the support they received. The slide you're looking at here shows the survey email that the end user would receive in addition to the closing ticket email. So no matter what rating the member selects, they'll be taken to a web page once that their choice is highlighted. And the choices on this email may be a little difficult to see, but they're very, very dissatisfied, dissatisfied, neutral, satisfied, or very satisfied. Next slide. So once they make their selection out of the email, they're taken to this web page, and whatever they highlighted in the email would be shown on the web page. In this case, the end user chose very satisfied. An additional text box is added where they can add reasons for their score if they want to. The rating is not actually recorded until they hit submit feedback off the web page. Next slide, please. This is a result where a member has chosen very dissatisfied. And as you can see, the text box on the bottom is in the same position but different. In this case, if a member selects very dissatisfied, dissatisfied, or neutral, we would ask the member, we'd love the chance to correct any dissatisfaction. Can you leave us your name, email, or phone number, and we will contact you to discuss what went wrong. This allows the member to provide us with some way of getting back in touch with them if they're dissatisfied. Next slide, please. So we've held 2 training sessions with POA staff on the administrative back end of the system, and we've seen excellent results and enthusiastic participation. We ran internal tests with the staff for 2 weeks and did not see any breakdown in the flow or timing of the ticket resolutions. We also, as I previously mentioned, had Ken Litke from the HOA help us with external tests, and Ken gave us a lot of good suggestions, which we were able to implement all of those. Ken also had Ellen Fox participate with the testing, and both Ken and Ellen provided us with positive feedback. Overall, the staff members and all who participated in the testing sessions were very satisfied and recommended that we proceed with making the system live. At the last managers meeting, we decided to go live on the date of September 2nd, which is today. So as of this moment, we are live with the system, and members can submit help desk requests to us. That's all I have to update.
Questions for Kevin?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Kevin, what would be some examples of reasons that you feel like people would use this system?
Well, I think we're open to any kind of, issues that the POA can solve, but at the same time, if there are issues out of our expertise, we can at least make suggestions on who to contact. During the live testing, we got silly responses to responses that were actually, routed through Jeff or routed through Clayton. trash pickup, brush pickup issues, things like that. Issues down at the pavilion, you know, we tested those also. So I think any number of issues from hours of operation to brush pickup to just about anything, we're willing to take those.
So if they have a non-emergency public works issue to report, they can do that here.
Yes,
If they have a request, if they've had, say, property damage in a dock and they need to request surveillance video, would they do that here, or would they do that through another form?
They
Or
most yeah,
can
they
it be
could.
streamlined through this system?
Yeah, they could do that, and then we would route it to Jeff or the appropriate person. But again, I'm glad you pointed out, you know, if your house is on fire, don't
Right.
submit a help request.
Don't
because-
submit it.
So this is a non-emergency
Right, non-emergency.
POA reporting. So
Exactly.
it can be questions, it can be reporting, it can be requests, it can be whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even know who to call at the POA, but if you submit this form, it will get to the right person, and then that person will contact you within one business day.
Right, and usually sooner than that. We have 4 administrators of this, so when a ticket comes in, all 4 administrators are immediately notified via email. We typically will respond, you know, immediately. One of us will. so.
Okay, and what is step 1? So I noticed that there's something that I want to tell the POA about. Where, you may have said this in the very beginning, but I'd just like for you to reiterate it. What do I do first? Where do I go?
Well, the first thing to do would be go to the website. The website is tvpoa.helpspot.com. And I believe Beth and I talked earlier this morning, so we'll have a link on the webpage, and then we'll have a widget in the webpage too. So if they go to tvpoa.org, they'll see that there also, where they can submit.
Perfect. So they can just go to the regular tvpoa.org, log in, and there will be a link there to the help spot.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then will that be something that's added to the app as well? Will we be able to get to that through the app?
Yes. I'm looking
Yes.
at Beth for the answer, yes.
Awesome. Good news. Bill, I think I may have answered your question through this line of questioning with Kevin. One of our property owners said today, I noticed what I think is a water leak. Can this be used for that? I suppose you have to determine if it seems like it's an emergency
Yeah.
water leak or not. If
How
it's
bad
an-
is the leak?
Right. If it's an emergency water leak, I would call the POA immediately and choose the emergency option. But if not, there would be no reason
Sure.
for them to
Yeah.
not use the system
I
for
would,
that,
I
right?
would stress to membership, they should err on the side of, it's probably an emergency, you know, and to make that phone call. But yeah, if it's a pinhole leak or a small leak, sure, and we'll route it to the right person. And on the page, they can also check that this is urgent. I suspect that every submission will be checked as urgent, but, you know, we look at those and they come in different. They're bright red, so we know they're an urgent request, and we'll, not that we take any more, you know, urgent action, but, because we'll address them as fast as we can. But
So what do you see as the benefits of this system over people just calling in to report a problem?
I mean, I think there's several advantages to this, both for the staff and for the membership. We get notified immediately and can route that request to the correct person within a matter of minutes, where depending on what the request is, when a phone call comes in, Karina may not know who to route it to, maybe initially get it routed to the wrong person, and that delays the response. So I think with Beth and myself and Stephen and Mitzi, we know where that request needs to go initially. So they're going to get a faster response and hopefully more satisfied membership from this.
And these responses are archived, so you can go back and review what happened
Yes,
with the
they are.
incidences.
And, you know, if the board requests that we provide a report, we can do that.
Well, and I would just very much like to commend Kevin and the rest of the staff who have put this together. I think this is a huge step forward in customer service, and I hope our property owners use this and are happy with the responses that they get, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of those, you know, at the end of the ticket responses,
Yeah.
and hopefully everybody has a smiley face, right?
Yes, yes. We're-
So
we're-
thank
we're-
you.
we're
Thank you for
striving
your work on
smiley
this. I
faces.
very much appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I don't know if anybody else has questions, but that's the end of my
I got one.
interrogation.
Steve's got a question.
Yeah,
Steve?
Kevin, I was gonna say, it'd be nice if you could give us some of the data. What's the total number of requests? What are the areas of concern? Because obviously, if your sewer alarm's going off, you're not gonna use this system. But if you need a mailbox changed out, or like you said, trash, shrub pickups, et cetera, it'd be nice to see what benefit this system's providing to the POA.
Sure, we can do that maybe on a quarterly basis. Come back and show us, share some of that information with you. Keep in mind that we're still using this for IT, internal IT tickets. So the data will be a little bit skewed, and we probably average, between Stephen and I, 15 to 30 tickets a day on this system. So we can kind of try to separate those out, but we may not be able to. But we can give you a good idea of the external tickets that have been submitted.
Any other questions for Kevin?
Ken has a comment.
First thing, I want to just thank Kevin for all the work he put on in this and his team. It was a pleasure to work with him. As he said, he took all the suggestions, comments we made, and he was able to find a way to put them in there. So that was really well done. The other comment I'd like to make is if this turns out to be what I think it could be, it's going to be really heavily used. And I think the goal here is to promote it so people know about it. And so I assume in the telegram you can have a bunch of marketing information, and I would like to do it through the HOA too, and likely new villagers as well, to make sure that it does get promoted. And the second part of that is, of course, it better work. I mean, if it doesn't work, then it becomes another tool that people will get ticked off and not want to use it. So it's launched now, so it's great. Glad it's launched, and I hope everybody responds to it so it becomes that hopefully what it can be. So again, thank you for doing. I think it's a big thing for the village.
Just to address what Ken just said, at the Communications Advisory Committee meeting this Friday, I've asked Beth to talk about that, and I'm imagining that we can provide some information blurbs to the HOA and new villagers to be able to pass that on to their membership. So, absolutely, same message. Agreed. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what Carla said. This is a major step forward in customer relations. Major step. And I thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Kevin.
Is he running for office?
Chris, you're on. By the way, Chris did try to kill major parts of the rainforest with his report. Hopefully he'll be efficient.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll blitz through this and just remember that I am a turf grass professional first and foremost, so turf and trees do not always coexist, so maybe that was part of the rationale. But anyway, I just want to start with some thank yous. Thank you to the board for the opportunity to give a golf update. I want to thank you for all your support. The Golf Advisory Committee, I want to thank them for all their ongoing support. I want to thank the entire Tellico Village golf community for your unwavering support. And most importantly, I want to thank all the Tellico Village staff and most notably the golf staff. They continue to amaze and go above and beyond, and their commitment to the overall golf experience, especially during these historic times, is to be commended, and they never cease to amaze me, so thank you. We'll zip through this pretty quick. And I thought that this was on. Now maybe it's on. There we go. So golf transition update. If you recall, the last time we gave a golf update was on March 4th. So March 4th, things were very different. So, I'd been on the job for just a number of weeks and came in and gave a fun report on March 4th, thinking that I had some time on my hands to get my feet on the ground and work together and spend some time with the team and go on some trips and do some things and try to get things sorted out and situated for what we were setting up to be a successful golf season. And then COVID showed up. So the team has handled it in stride. I'm extremely proud of what we've been able to accomplish throughout this pandemic. So the next slide, I'm going to flip through some of these quickly. So this is just an article that went out through multiple communication vehicles, through our constant contact vehicle and through the newsletter with Beth and her team called Playing Through a Pandemic. So it just chronicles, just the ebbs and flows, especially there early on that you all lived, trying to make sense of executive orders and so on and so forth, and trying to follow people that you'd never followed before. And so I know who the mayor is in Loudoun County. I know who the mayor is in Monroe County, and I follow those folks and try to just navigate this process together. So, unbelievably crazy, as you know, there towards the latter part of March, as this thing came fast and furious, and we tried to navigate it. But again, I think that we were a trendsetter in the golf community. And again, that's attributed to the team and their efforts, and we worked together on this and everything as a team. And I think that we navigated it quite beautifully. So this is the phase 1 COVID operations that went into place middle of March and stayed in place through the end of May, at which time we were able to make a shift as we got better control of things. But this is just an example of how quickly things changed. In a matter of days, we went from solo carts are encouraged, and I think about 48 hours later, we went to solo carts are mandatory. And then, a month or so later, we went to solo carts are available, and then we had to make a fourth adjustment to making them available at a modest nominal surcharge. So just an example of how quickly things changed and how quickly we had to pivot as a team with our policies and procedures with respect to COVID. And some more examples. This is the phase 2 operations that are still in place. The Winston chronicled a little bit in his report. And they will continue to be in place for the foreseeable future. So at least through for the next 30 days, as Rick had mentioned. So this has become our new normal. And just to give you an example of some of those new normals is, we have signage all over the place there for a while. It looked like we were hosting an election of sorts at our golf shops with all the signage we had all over the place. And people have adapted, adjusted, and it's become second nature because, again, this is our new normal. Some other accommodations we've made, we put in hands-free refillable stations at each of our comfort stations on all 3 golf courses now, so we're proud of that, and it just helped folks get through the heat of the summer and do so safely and effectively. And just some other examples of the new normal, the barriers in the golf shops for our clerks for those transactions, the constant disinfecting of our golf carts, and we're getting better at all this stuff. We've gotten pretty efficient at it, to be quite honest. So we found better products, better methods. So now we have a product that we use for disinfecting our golf carts between users that has a kill time for COVID in less than a minute. And we use a paint sprayer so we can mist and fog the entire golf cart in just a matter of seconds. So we've gotten more efficient. The social distancing throughout our golf shop lobbies, the barrier system that we fabricated for our golf carts, all the signage again. So this is for sure our new normal as we continue to take this a day at a time in an effort to keep golf a safe haven. Just some other examples of correspondence that went out. One was interdepartmental, just about, hey, how do we handle some questions as a team with respect to contact tracing and so on and so forth. And we stole a lot of Rick's wording from the recreation correspondence that went out. Another is just what we sent out to our partners in the local community with our high school golf partners and their coaches and the expectations. A lot of which is mandated by the TSSAA. So we wanted to be working in conjunction on those things and make sure that we do so and have those folks in as safe a manner as possible. Moving on, it's interesting. The pandemic has accelerated the process of becoming One Telco Village Golf. The team, it forces us to work more closely together, and we're constantly working on improving our communications because the communications are the key to all our coordination and our success. So this is just a highlight of the team that's in place, and we have a phenomenal team. We've all got our strengths and weaknesses, but you put us all together, and we've got a pretty dang good team that I'm extremely proud of, and I would put us up against any in the industry. One of the things that we've done as a team, it's the first time that this has been in place in my tenure, is we all sat down and put together goals and objectives for each of the members of the golf management team. Those goals and objectives all roll up to my goals and objectives, which are all measurable. And, they're all interconnected. And for the most part, we're making tremendous progress. There's some of these things that we're shooting for that have been interrupted by the pandemic. But for the most part, we're moving forward, and we're going to accomplish the bulk of these goals and objectives, which I'll share here in a moment. But just some examples of the teams. Toka, we got Adam, the head golf professional, Charles Rofer is the first assistant, and running the golf course these days. And I'm still involved there a little bit. John North and Tyler Thies, those folks do a tremendous job. Tenacity, Casey Flanagan, head golf professional, Michael Ledbetter, tremendous addition. Unbelievably positive, infectious. Love having him around. Wells McClure, our senior head golf course superintendent at this point in time, and newly promoted assistant Sam Whitted. Those folks do a tremendous job. At Kahidi, Jeff Harrington has never ceased to amaze me, just his commitment to being in the trenches with his team. And he has been a huge surprise of sorts, just his level of commitment and how he stepped up with the new leadership and direction. Head golf course superintendent Jordan Clark, and the new father of the group, Josh Gunner. So tremendous team, and Kahidi's never looked better. Moving forward, something that folks like to point out and celebrate of sorts, and I've got some updates on this, but this is the rounds report through July. But instead of going through what's on the slide here, I'll give you the report for August. Those came out yesterday. So year to date, to budget, we are 13,699 rounds ahead of budget, and we're 8,848 rounds ahead of 2019. So incredible. The uptick with respect to the unexpected positive circumstance with respect to the pandemic and having a captive audience and golf being a safe haven and something you can do and naturally socially distance. So it's a safe outdoor activity, and there's no better thing to do, in my opinion, here in Tellico Village and experience. Everything is great about East Tennessee and Tellico Village. So uptick in rounds. And the team has gone again above and beyond and deserves all the credit, making accommodations where we can successfully navigate and accommodate all those rounds. So again, it's been a challenge, and everything. Carla can attest to this. Everything's a little more difficult these days, and we're looking forward to when this is all behind us. But again, as Winston mentioned, we're going to be better as a result. We've put some new systems in place that will stick and help us be better on the backside of this thing. So again, we've been incredibly busy. August was another strong month where we were almost 3,000 rounds over budget. And year to date, we're approaching 4,000 rounds ahead of budget. So kudos to the team and the entire Tellico Village golf community. And this is an old slide that I put in there, just showing, okay, when we went from phase 1 to phase 2 and we managed the carts accordingly, just our capacity went up 60 tee times per day. So that was a real game changer as we navigated very carefully March, April, and the latter part of May. We had some restrictions and we were limited because of solo carts on the number of folks we could accommodate, and that was our biggest complaint at the time, just having access. So, things went into place June 1st, phase 2 COVID operations, and we afford, a number of different options with our golf carts. You can ride shoulder to shoulder with a family or friend. You can put the drop-down barrier in place, the safety barrier, or you can, for a nominal fee, again, take your own cart. So, we've got all the measures in place to protect folks, and I know of no other golf course in our region that has all those measures available. So, again, kudos to the team. Golf race strategies, again, this is just a slide that, gives you an example of some of the things we're working on. So we're working on any and every possible avenue for improving things and moving things forward for 2021. So the highlighted items are what was in the former 5-year plan, and those highlighted items are what we see as our greatest opportunity. So we're actually meeting as a golf advisory committee this coming week to do what we're going to call a rate workshop. So the golf management team, we've already spent some time and put together what we think is the best proposal to move us forward for 2021. We'll be sharing that with the golf advisory committee on Tuesday, and then we'll hopefully move that forward onto the finance committee and the board and so on and so forth as part of our 2021 budget proposal. Just some updates on some data we've been tracking with respect to our unlimited packages, because we get lots of questions there, and obviously the one that sticks out is the After Two. It's been a tremendous value, very popular, so we're looking at reinventing that and making it even better. Financial report, we don't have the August data yet, but at the end of July, you can see here where year to date, we were $104,000 ahead with respect to profit, and we're some $250,000 under with respect to expense. So you roll all that up together, and we're $327,000 to the good according to plan. So again, the team deserves all the credit. Trackman, wow, what an asset and tremendous addition to the golf community. So, you know, we've really just scratched the surface on what it can do for us, but it gets used on a daily basis, first and foremost, for fittings. And it's interesting, you know, folks used to responsibly go off-site for fittings because we didn't have the capacity to really give them the data and steer them in the right and the best direction for themselves so they get the most bang for their buck. But now we've got the best tool in the industry for that. And we're estimating in excess of $70,000 in equipment sales since the arrival of Trackman through demo days and custom fittings. So incredible, the return on the investment for that device. In addition, we've made use of the device for some close to the whole competitions just to get us some exposure for the Lions Club event, the VFW event, and we're going to do the same for the Kiwanis this coming weekend. So super excited about Trackman and everything you can do. And this is a picture from our Trackman test drive where we had over 100 participants to stop by just to get a feel for what it can do for you. And that will just stir up increased utilization and interest. So again, this picture is a pseudo simulator setup where we hit into a net, and you can see the flat screen there behind GAC Chairman Howard Higbee that gave him all the data. So we let folks hit a number of shots with a number of different clubs and took their data down and sent them the report so that they could have some data that they could share and look at and ponder and go look up and Google and figure out what all these different things mean, like smash factor and so on and so forth. But incredible, the instant feedback and how it can best help us help golfers. So a couple of the take-homes from the test drive, when people get in these environments, they overswing. Most of our folks have drivers with too little loft and too stiff a shaft. So as we continue to bring people in and custom fit them and make use of the Trackman and that data and steer them in the right direction with respect to their equipment, their scores are going to go down and they're going to have more fun. So we're super excited about that. So, and today actually, the projector's been in place. The impact screen was on back order, but it came in today and it was in my office when I left. So we're going to work on getting that put up rather quickly. So we'll have the capacity to have a simulator that is mobile, plug and play of sorts, that we can set up at the pavilion temporarily until we have a permanent facility. And one of the things you'll see forthcoming is we're going to send you an invitation along with the GAC for a preview simulator night at the pavilion just to give you folks some exposure and again, just as an appreciation of your support. Fin Cycles, they're here as well. So you'll see some marketing correspondence going out in the next few days with respect to the fins. And it's just another avenue to add fun to golf and grow interest. They're at our Kahiti facility. We've got 4 of them via a rideshare program. And it's pretty interesting, you know, the technology. And we've had to work through a couple of workarounds to make them, you know, user-friendly for the staff. You know, with the technology, you've got to download the Fin app and you got to go through the entire registration and waiver process each and every time you use the Fin, and then from this app you take a picture of the barcode on the Fin, and then not until you've done all those things will the actual Fin cycle turn on. So we're having to add this app and technology to our starter iPads so that they'll have the capacity to fire them up and position them each morning just to stage them so that we'll be in position to rent them.
So this is kind of like Hell's Angels on the golf course?
Exactly. Exactly. Just exactly like that, only completely different. But they're a lot of fun. We extensively vetted these as a team with Winston and Parker's help and Kevin Stevens, and we feel really good about them. We demoed them as a management team. And the take-home message after experiencing a round of golf on these as a management team was, wow, if we ever have a choice between this or a traditional golf cart, we're going to take a Fin every time. It just is fun. So one of the things you'll see forthcoming, too, that we got confirmation on today with the help of Beth and her team, is we're going to make use of these with our Patriot Golf Day. We've had to reinvent Patriot Golf Day a little bit each and every year, and this year with the COVID, we're going to do things a little differently. But what we're going to do is October 1st, and you'll see some information coming out with respect to this. We're going to have our Patriot Golf Day at Kahiti, and it's going to be a golf marathon where all 5 of our golf professionals will play an 18-hole round, and in theory, you can play a 9-hole round of golf on a Fin in 45 minutes. So we're going to estimate an hour per 9 per golf professional, and we feel we can comfortably play 90 holes of golf. That's 18 holes per professional in a day via a golf marathon, and raise some funds for Patriot Golf Day and Folds of Honor. So look for more information to come forth with respect to our Patriot Golf Day and how we're going to maximize the day and make use of the fin cycles and help market those as well. So we're going to coordinate that day with a live remote with Cumulus Radio Sports Animal. So we have some credits with them that we're going to use just to get some exposure for the village, exposure for our Kahiti facility, and these fin scooters. Moving on, Audubon. Again, we can never celebrate the beauty of our golf courses enough. They're in the most protected green space we got, and the most beautiful green space we got. We are due for recertification. This is year 3 of being certified as an Audubon sanctuary. So that process has been somewhat interrupted by the COVID. The folks at Audubon are located out of New York, so they haven't felt comfortable in traveling. And it was funny, in some recent correspondence, they viewed us as a hotspot, and I kind of was like, well, I guess relatively speaking, maybe if you went to downtown Nashville, that would be a hotspot, but here in Tellico Village, we're pretty safe. But again, they're not comfortable or where they feel like they can come travel, and we can go through the recertification process, but that's not going to be an issue. But this is just a lead into one of the things we're working on is a golf value statement, a golf course value statement, just to celebrate the value of our golf courses to golfers and non-golfers alike. And one of the things I'm sure you've seen go out recently is the Parkland concept. I know some folks would like to have more park area in the village, and we have that within our golf courses. We just got to make use of it responsibly. So we've sent multiple correspondence out in conjunction with updating our golf rule book, which is on the Golf Tellico Village it's a mouthful, golftellicovillage.com website. The golf rule book is there, in addition to the Parkland concept and the Parkland hours of operation. So this little article went out in the past 2 telegrams, just elaborating and explaining what that looks like and what you can do and when you can do it. And for folks that follow us on Twitter, you'll have a little even better idea as to maybe having a little greater access, and it's listed here in these hours of operations with respect to the Parkland concept and making use of the golf courses, which happens every day. So we're just trying to make sure golf gets credit for those non-golf activities and everything that it contributes to the overall community, in addition to just being a golf course. Golf course updates. Wow. Cannot read this. I know Sue had mentioned that earlier, but this is just, I captured the image of an article that went out in the quarterly newsletter. And this, again, has gone out in multiple vehicles via our constant contact to our golf community and to the community as a whole via the newsletter. So, again, the golf course teams have done a phenomenal job through these historic times, and they've done so the entire season horribly understaffed. So, as you know, the number one issue in the green industry or in the job market as a whole is just staffing. And it's never been more difficult than it is today. And then with respect to the unemployment that was compensation that was available with the pandemic, it complicated matters. So it's been extremely difficult to find staff, retain staff. So we've never at any point in time through the season been fully staffed. And the team has continued to knock it out of the park. And in my tenure, which is going on 10 plus years now, this is the best the golf courses have ever been for the entire season. And for the latter part of August, undoubtedly the best that they've ever been. And we have little to no issues with our putting services, and we're set up for an outstanding fall season. Just remind you, when I came here in 2011, it was on the back end of 2010 and some catastrophic failure. So when I started here with Wells McClure as my assistant in April, May of 2011, Tokel was closed. There was no grass in the greens, and 9 holes at Tenasseee were closed because there's no grass in the greens. So the team just continues to build on its efforts and compounding interests of good decisions, which have been perpetuated by your folks and your support. So again, the golf course team's unbelievable job. Bruce, you got a question?
Yeah,
comment?
Chris, give us a little feedback on the bunker restorations, or what we've been doing over the last, 2 to 3 years?
Probably 6, 7 years now. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. So, you know, that process started at Toqua, I would estimate in 2014, 15, 16 maybe. And we did really a major bunker overhaul with some redesign. And in the last 3 years, Wells has been doing so in-house with his team. And that's just good money spent. Bunkers, unfortunately, become your most expensive feature on a golf course. And they're supposed to be a hazard. That's not how it's supposed to work. But the upkeep on a bunker, an improperly built and constructed bunker, is exorbitant. So, you know, that's good money spent, and the return on that investment has been significant, and that's where we're able to refocus and reallocate those manpower resources to your fields of play and, you know, have a positive impact and return on the golf experience. And we're looking forward to kicking off phase 2 of that at Kahiti the next couple of years.
How are they holding up in the rain, you know, these?
Incredibly well. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's night and day.
Because that was one of the big selling points.
No question, no question. So at Toqua, we made use of a cloth liner, but in the process of the redesign, the reconstruction, we're able to divert water so they never wash. We'll have a little silt to deal with, so they're relatively easy to repair after even torrential rains. And the same thing is true at Tenasseee, where the capillary concrete that Wells and his team have put in, it virtually eliminates washing. And we're looking forward to, you know, incorporating a similar technology and approach at Kahiti, but just purely with phase 1, some of the low-hanging fruit and elimination of some bunkers out there, the impact has been tremendous on the operation at Kahiti as well. So we've just scratched the surface out there. So we're looking forward to moving that forward. Pat White?
Thanks. Just to give you a little break, I guess, because
All right,
hey,
I'm ready to knock this out.
Okay. No,
I was told I have too many slides.
I'm not serving you up anything on
Okay.
this, no. And I'm just going through your presentation so far. So if I got this right, your increased rounds, increased income, net income is greatly over last year. Dramatic increase in rounds. Rain delays, as we've listened on this board for the last few years, is not come out of your mouth yet. Hold on a
I've got
second.
some
Hold
rainfall
on.
data. Let me share that real, let me interrupt real quick.
You haven't seen the graphs yet.
I know, I'm still talking here. I'm just saying what I haven't heard, and if it's coming, I'm waiting on it.
No, you're fine.
He's no.
One of the things that I do realize, being a golfer, that if you increase rounds this dramatically, you're going to stress your golf courses. And without those rain days or those delays, you don't have the time for it to rest and recover. And the last couple of times playing golf, I cannot thank your superintendents enough for what they're doing.
No question about it.
Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. What a good group of guys you have. Just fabulous. And then I'll get to this one in just a little second here. And then a few years ago, I was serving on the Golf Advisory Committee. And the discussion at that time with Kevin involved was how do we keep non-golfers off the golf courses? Now you're inviting them. And then I noticed while I was playing golf this last week at 2 different courses, you've still got this Audubon natural area being, it looks like you come in and kill the Bermuda and then scuff it and then replant it with natural seeds and things.
Correct.
So you're still going on that. And so here's my question. Do you ever slow down?
The answer is no. And we don't want him to.
No, man, oh, man. And then, so anyway, thank you and all your guys. Every time I see them, I'm trying to get them to go out on the boat with me and let them celebrate or, go swimming or something. But, they're always too busy even to do that.
Please do.
And then the last thing I wanted to review, and this is, excuse me, this is personal and it has nothing to do with you, so you're on pause right now. But when we sit in these meetings, there's a certain amount of respect, cordiality, and consideration that we give one another. We don't get along all the time. You won't believe, and I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to these folks and those. You won't believe sometimes wanting to go across this table and have a real face-to-face with somebody. But there is that consideration and that respect. And the people that are on this website making responses are showing that same consideration and respect by answering questions, except today we had one that is not. So basically, it boils down to two sets of rules here, folks. We can be kind and considerate to you, and you can belittle and berate us. That's not right. And I'm not your daddy, and I'm not your mama, and I'm not your preacher, but that's just not right. It's not. And here's my offer. If you have an issue with any board member, then pick up the phone and call another board member that you do relate to and discuss that. But in a public forum, unless you're going to come in here and do this face-to-face and not hide behind an initial, no, let's not do that, folks. Done. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you, and,
So
yeah.
back to your golf report.
Yes, ma'am. So, here's some weather data
Hey,
that
Chris,
is shocking.
Chris.
Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
I'm gonna hold my questions till you get done.
I appreciate it. Thank you,
All
sir. So, some rainfall data. The high water mark, literally, for August was 12.23 inches in Kahiti, which puts our Kahiti facility at 74 inches year-to-date. And annual rainfall is around 48 inches, and through August, we should be more in the 34-inch range, but at all three courses, we're in excess of 53 inches. So in spite of the pandemic, all the rain, golf is very, very healthy. And again, it's put a strain on our golf courses, and that will start to show as we start to go out of the growing season with our turf grasses. They won't have the recuperative capacity they've had all season. But also it's been a stress and strain on the team. So again, I encourage you to go out of your way to say thank you every chance you get, because they, for sure, are doing a tremendous job, and I couldn't appreciate them any more. All right, so another little success story, the new fan at the Tokwa putting green, in fact, as we had hoped, proved to be a solution. So it decreased the decibel level, but we estimated about 30, but actually closer to 40. And it does a superior job, and you can barely hear it, and you don't even recognize that it's there. So it's a solution, and we'll look forward to bringing some more of those on in the future. Another thing that we've worked hard on is a long-range improvement plan, and I'm meeting with that committee tomorrow, just to use golf as kind of a pilot project in an effort to further refine our plan and maybe use it as a platform or a guide for some other departments. But this is just an example of our priorities for 2021 versus the placeholders that existed. And we work together as a management team. And how we've gone about this is, we identify all the opportunities at each of the golf facilities. And that's a constant process because there's things that we forget or new things that arise. And then we roll that up and prioritize it for all of Tellico Village Golf. And that's how we're going to base our recommendations for 2021 and beyond. And we've got a pretty good plan for 2021 that we're going to fight for. And we'll have some good information for 2022 and beyond as well. So we've got a 10-year plan that we feel pretty good about. We're always trying to improve it and make it better. But we've worked really hard on this long-range improvement plan for Tellico Village Golf so that we can best move our golf courses, facilities, and the golf experience forward. So this is just some examples of what all goes into the LRIP and what things we took into consideration. Continuous improvement, again, just to echo Pat White's sentiments, we live in a state of continuous improvement. So we try to get better each and every day. We're relentless in that pursuit. And I know Mitzi gave a great presentation, maybe the last board meeting or the meeting prior, and it chronicled a lot of things going on in golf, so I appreciate that. Celebrating our team, there's a couple things. We've had some episodes go out about folks on our team, and again, there's some back-of-the-house people that you may not even ever see that are extremely talented, and it's worth celebrating their skills and getting them a little exposure that they deserve because they do a tremendous job for us. Golf calendar. So, as crazy and hectic as things have been, one of the things we did, a lot of the events that would have occurred through the summer season, we deferred to later in the season, hoping things would get better. Well, things necessarily haven't gotten better. We've just gotten better at managing it. So as we move into the fall season, we're going to get even busier. with our event calendar. So we got some big events coming up. But the one that I want to highlight here is the men's member guest and kind of how we got to where we are today with that event. The Red Tail Hawk Invitational is what it's called now. So we went through a survey process. So we sent out a survey to past participants just to gauge interest. And we were surprised at the positive response, and at about 85% clip, past participants said that they wanted to participate in an event this year that's going to look a little different. So this year's event is going to be minus the social gatherings, so no stag night, no ladies luncheon, no awards banquet here at the Yacht Club. It's going to be more of just a golf event, but we're very comfortable and confident in how we can pull this off and do so safely. So it's going to look a little different, but the golf aspects are going to look basically the same and virtually unchanged, other than just some logistics and navigating and keeping golf safe. So we're excited about this event and keep moving it forward. So the information's all gone out. Entries are coming back. We're going to keep the event a little smaller this year for good reason, just for safety and just to help us manage the overall event. And in doing so, that'll put us at one course each day, which the added benefit of that is just the ability to showcase all three of our world-class golf courses. Marketing communication is really probably one of our greatest opportunities to improve. And first and foremost, that was internally. And one of our service standards that we're going to subscribe to is you cannot over-communicate. And the guys will testify that I try to subscribe to that on a daily basis. So I bombard them with communications and information on a daily basis, whether it's directed at them or not. That way they're informed. So some of the things that we've been able to accomplish, mostly with Beth and her team in marketing, we've updated the brochure. I'm extremely proud of the new brochure, so we got that in place at some different places. We're working on updating the website, making it more current. That way, if you want to know something about Tellico Village Golf, you know where to go, and it's going to be accurate and it's going to be timely. On the communications side, Tellico Village Golf Talk. I want to thank Tellico Village Broadcasting. They do an incredible job. And it's a lot of fun to do this with Lynn. I'm glad that he continued to want to do this. He's been doing it for quite some time and did it, the Wild Wild West with Jim West. And we've had a lot of fun with it. We're trying to do one every month. I think they're very informative. We've had, again, a lot of fun with it. And the next one's going to be focused around the fin cycles at Kahiti and just how to utilize those and everything that's involved in that. And just some other examples of our communication and marketing efforts. So to get to the end of this, and again, say thank you, and I'm sure there's going to be some questions, hopefully not too many, but I appreciate it again for the opportunity to give a golf update, and again, thank you all, and the golf team, kudos.
Steve, you had questions?
Yeah, first of all, Chris, give my thanks as well to all your staff. You guys are doing an outstanding job on all three courses. Couple questions. On your August year-to-date rounds, where you're almost 14,000 rounds above budget, can you break that down between what are revenue-generating rounds versus your annual rounds from the annual passes?
I can give you an estimate, and we can dig into the data as deeply as you want to. I encourage you to swing by sometime. And every round's revenue producing. It's just how we evaluate those rounds. So if you back out the unlimited packages, about 60% of the rounds increase you can attribute to the unlimited packages, which leaves 40%.
Okay. That's close enough.
Yes, sir.
And then on your golf rate strategies, where you
Yes, sir.
gave some data or through, I guess it was July,
Yes, sir.
and you're calculating how many rounds average per annual golf package you have.
Yes, sir.
Do you have the source data that could break down and identify, let's take your individual, you got 130 annual packages. How many of those 130 have already exceeded your break-even number of rounds, to see how it's skewed?
Right, we can dig into that data, but I can confirm that the after two, which we're going to reinvent and call Twilight Unlimited, every person has exceeded the break even.
Okay, and then I will definitely call you, because there, when I take a look at your calculation for your break-even number of rounds, on the family and individual, you've included the cost of the annual range pass in there. So in effect, you really need to back that out, which lowers your break-even number of rounds. And there's some relationships between your family, individual, your new Twilight that I'd like to talk to you about before you come out with a recommendation on your new rates.
You're exactly right, and that's something we're taking into consideration for our 2021 proposal.
All right, but other than that, you guys are doing a hell of a job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions for Chris?
I have a few questions. Number one, how do people sign up for Trackman club fittings? And what if they wanted to take a lesson with a pro utilizing that equipment?
Okay, just call the golf shop, and we've got a sign-up sheet, a system, where we're using Google Docs to help manage that as the Trackman gets more and more popular. But any of the golf professionals can make use of that system and custom fit you. And we have a a structure of fees, schedule of fees, I guess you would say, for the Trackman, and to make use of it in addition to a traditional lesson is an additional $25.
Okay, so if you do a club fitting and purchase clubs through one of the golf shops, do you have to pay for that?
Well,
Trackman
a
usage for
club
the
fitting fee is $75, but if you make a purchase, it is waived.
Perfect. All right. You said that there should be communication coming out on the Patriot Golf Day at Kahidi. Is the communication coming out on October 1st, or is the actual event on
That's the
October
date. We got confirmation yesterday through Beth and her team. That's going to be the best date for our team and the Cumulus group. So we're going to have to move fast and furious on that. And Casey Flanagan will be taking the lead on that Patriot Golf Date and the golf marathon.
All right. There are some areas along the fairways out at Kahidi where the grass has been killed. What's happening out there?
I'm not sure I follow you with respect to areas along the fairways where the grass has been killed, but it could be related to a post-emergent herbicide application where we're trying to remove
there's
weeds.
like whole areas where it's been purposely killed. Are you redoing some of those, like the width of the fairways, or putting in some of the more like Audubon type areas? It's
All the above's ongoing, but I'm not
Okay.
sure I follow you exactly, but maybe we can, take a
I
look
just-
at that out there sometime.
I was
That would
just
be no
golfing with the
problem.
group the other day, and they asked about
Sure.
it, and I didn't know. I guess we could
We're
call Jordan too
constantly
and ask him.
evaluating our low maintenance areas and how we can improve them. Some of them, need to be redone. A few places we can make subtle changes because there's a significant return on investment, not to mention the positive environmental effects. So we're expanding and adding some areas. I know at Tanasi and Kahidi this year. Tokwa, we're not doing any other than where the portable pro shop had sat. So that's an ongoing process. So we continue to try to improve that each and every year. So that may be what you're referencing.
Okay, and this is maybe a question that you don't have the figures off the top of your head, but you shared the rounds in June.
Mm-hmm.
There were 231 and 233 at Tokwa and Tanasi respectively, and their numbers were about $2,560. There were 59 fewer rounds at Kahidi at 174, and their revenue was $2,792. Is that considerably more guest rounds, or it seems like it's completely
I'd have to go
Out of
back and
whack.
look at that report. Obviously, I
numbers.
can't pull that out of my mind's eye at this point in time, but we do the most guest play at Kahidi,
okay?
which
I was just
which
wondering
has
if
the
that's
greatest
what
yield.
created the difference in
Correct.
those, in
More
those
than likely.
figures. Okay, and Cap Purvis asked a question online while he was watching and wanted to know if we promote the Audubon certification.
Most certainly, yeah. Yeah, that's part of our fabric. It's the right thing to do. And it's partly what makes Tellico Village a special place that it is, and it's just celebrating the natural beauty that exists.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Chris? Okay. Chris, you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you for all your
We all
support.
appreciate it, and thank you so much for your report.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Tell all your guys too.
Yep.
I'm assuming Jeff Gagley's not available. Oh, he's on? Okay, well, you told me it was only till 2:45, so he's good? All
Okay,
right, perfect.
we're gonna change up the schedule. This would normally be in the other, but we needed Jeff Gagley available for this. So Carla, go forward.
Okay, thank you. I just had a question. I am on the pub committee out at Kahidi, and this committee basically just finds ways to promote and support the Kahidi pub. And in the minutes from the last meeting, there was an issue reported about the kitchen ventilation fan. And Jeff Gagley's on the phone or zoomed in to this meeting, so I wanted to ask this question when he was available. And I know Mitzi has some more information about it as well. But what was in the minutes was that the fan is not working properly, and it's clear, it's obvious when you go into the restaurant and anywhere near the kitchen area that it doesn't have proper ventilation. It was reported to the committee that the fan replacement would be at a cost of about $10,000, but that the board would not pay it because it was not in the budget. It was said that we denied it because it wasn't in the 2020 budget, and that Mr. Gagley is trying to convince the board. The rest of the report was that the fan blades are bad and that it is a health issue for the staff. So I just wanted to
I'm curious.
get an
I don't
update on
remember
that.
that proposal ever coming to the board.
I didn't
Nope.
either, and that's why I wanted to bring it up and clarify it today.
Okay. So Jeff, what's the story?
The other side of the story is we have not presented anything to the board of directors for approval, and that's nothing that come from our area. We have got pricing on replacing the, I'll call it the guts of the exhaust system, which is what needs to be replaced. But we're waiting on our mechanical engineer, who should be on site Monday, just to verify that what Schaffner has quoted us is going to do what needs to be done, because it is not a large amount, but it is an unbudgeted amount of money that we want to ask for to fix this problem. And yes, I do. I personally believe it's a safety hazard for the health of the people.
Jeff, I would tell you if it's in the kitchen and it's generating smoke, it's an OSHA violation.
Oh, I agree.
So I
with
would
you.
tell
agree
you
with
that this needs to be addressed with some urgency.
And we are. We're pushing as hard as we can, but we're waiting. We're at the mercy of schedules on our.
We have an obligation
On
to
our,
protect the health of those employees.
And I know that was
And even if it is unbudgeted, the board needs to consider that.
as soon as
Well,
possible.
actually, we would take that through as an emergency unfunded budget and would request that, Parker approve that immediately so that we could get on with the process. I just want to make sure that what we do with Schaffner is what needs to be done for the facility as through my engineering firm, Applied Engineering.
And you'll know what that fix is Monday?
Monday, yes, sir.
Okay. I guess I would ask you to update the members of the board as soon after that meeting as possible.
Excuse me, that's Tuesday. Monday's a holiday. Yes, I will immediately.
I thought you were going to work on Monday.
So Carla, in the meantime, and I don't know, maybe
Sorry.
somebody else can, what's the situation for the people working there?
Well, that's the concern, is that it's pretty obvious as soon as you walk into the building. I know a lot of people are opting to eat outside because the air quality is not very good in the building. And our concern as a committee was, we've got employees in there who are wearing masks, who, already have some restricted breathing issues, and then they have poor air quality. So our concern was, how fast can we get this situation improved for them? Because it's definitely consensus among the committee members that it's a serious safety consideration that we need to get it taken care of. So that's why I wanted to ask you about it today, Jeff. Steve has a comment or
We will
question.
be on it as hard as we can. I will look at the turnaround that Schaffner has given us. I just hate to, Tuesday was as quick as I can get my engineer down here. I just hate to do anything without him nodding that this was correct. I'd hate to spend $10,000 on it, then still have smoke in there and have to
Right.
come back to the board for additional money.
Understood.
But we are putting fans in there, as I understand, to try to circulate more air in there.
When I was talking about this with Mitzi, Jeff, she told me that there was also perhaps an issue with getting enough air coolant in there, to have some sort of an air conditioning unit. Is there nothing possible to help out with that situation in the kitchen?
No, that's part of my engineer's
part of it. Okay, perfect.
responsibility to look at Tuesday is
All right,
not
that's
only
wonderful.
the exhaust system, but, the flow of air. We want to make sure the whole facility is balanced correctly, and, we don't want anybody to be in an undesirable working condition.
Steve, you had a comment?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but worst case, if things are not acceptable, you shut down the kitchen, keep the bar open until you can fix the unsafe condition. And if that's what we gotta do, we ought to do it.
Is there a way, is the air quality being tested? Is that something we can do?
Lisa told me it wasn't so much that it was how hot it was in there. So the fans, like Jeff said, they went and got fans. The fans should move that air and cool off the kitchen, pull out the heat, pull in the cool air from the restaurant. But that would be an option, Steve, if that doesn't work. But I think she's got fans yesterday or today.
Okay.
And also, we know that they have the window, a pass-through window that's staying open. We're going to try to keep that closed a little bit more and put a screen on it so that, everything can be safely taken outside and no air is lost out through the pass-through window.
So Jeff, your guys coming Tuesday. I'd expect a report to the board members as soon after that meeting as possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now we'll return to our regular programming.
Thank you.
So Beth has an announcement about the Honors Awards Committee.
Yes. We'll go to the next slide, Shannon. Just
Is
a
that
little.
microphone on? I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate who the committee members are for the Honors Award, it's Bill Hartman, Tracy Hillman, Mary Kay Bogardus, and Rick Carlin. And we had requested to the board at the last meeting that we move the Honors Award program to 2021 due to COVID, and everyone agreed. So this is just an announcement to the community that we're not going to be doing Honors Awards this year. Part of the big thing is not only getting the applications from people and where those are picked up and dropped off, but the luncheon is pretty important. And due to the restrictions that we don't really see lifting anytime soon, we wouldn't really be able to have that luncheon. So it was agreed unanimously to move it to 2021, and we will get something out in the gram on that and then keep the community updated as we move into next year and get that program started. That's all I've got.
Anybody got any questions?
Well, you did a fabulous job.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Carla, you're up. Let's talk about some fish.
Talk about some fish. It's so funny, you guys, everybody who's listening to this, go online and search, I'm trying to talk about fish, and watch that little boy talk about fish, and you will be glad you did. Okay, sorry, when you said let's talk about fish, it made me think of that, Rick. So this is our Asian carp update for today. If not for COVID-19, Asian carp may well be the first priority hot topic in Tellico Village. But even in light of the pandemic, we cannot lose sight of the importance of keeping this invasive species out of East Tennessee waterways, including the Upper Tennessee River Basin and Tellico Lake. So here's what you need to know today. U.S. State Representative Tim Burchett sponsored a bill passed by the House, which he mentioned at our last update, when he gave the update, for a $25 million federal appropriation in 2021 to stop Asian carp migration in East Tennessee. He specifically mentioned working with the property owners at Tellico Village on the floor of the House. If you want to see a video of his 1-minute speech, visit the Stop Silver Carp in Tennessee Facebook page and you'll find a link to that speech. And yes, thank you for asking, you can help. Here are 3 easy steps you can take starting today. Number 1, stay informed. Visit the TVPOA.org website and under the News tab, click on Asian Carp. There you will find updates from the board meetings, resources, sample letters to write, and the contact information for agencies and elected officials. We need to keep consistent pressure on these folks to help us keep this invasive species out of our waterways. Visit the Stop Silver Carp in Tennessee Facebook page. Like it and get notifications regarding activity on this page. It is a one-stop shop for a wealth of information regarding the pitfalls of infestation and what you can do to stop this invasive species migration into Tellico Lake. 3, follow local, state, and federal agencies to keep up with their efforts regarding Asian carp. TVA is live streaming their board meetings, and other agencies are providing webinars and information sharing regarding Asian carp. Links to these types of resources may be found under that same news tab under the Asian carp on the POA website. Number 2, keep the fight against Asian carp top in our local, state, and federal legislators' minds. Write letters often, asking for specific actions. The first action would be to request that appropriated funds be used for prevention rather than mitigation. Once Asian carp have infested a waterway, they have proven to be impossible to completely eradicate while they destroy the ecosystem and eliminate native fish. Also request that downstream locks such as Chickamauga, as well as Watts Bar and Fort Loudon, be closed temporarily until effective barriers can be installed and then reopened. Fishermen, don't bring Asian carp as bait fish into Tellico Lake. I cannot stress that enough. And also, if you catch an Asian carp or what you think may be an Asian carp anywhere in East Tennessee, freeze it and contact the TWRA. Photos of the carp so that you can identify them easily, and information on how to contact TWRA may be found on the POA website as well as on the Stop Silver Carp in Tennessee Facebook page. All of this information will be posted in that tab as well after today's meeting. So together we can make a positive difference. Literally keep those cards and letters going out to the agencies and officials on the contact list found on the POA website. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla. And that brings us to the ever-popular section of our meeting that's entitled Other. So is there any other topics from the board members? What a rousing response that was. So now, are there any, have you got another one?
Jeff, are you still there? Is he still there? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Okay. I'll talk to him about that later.
I am.
Oh, hi. There are two things. Number one, when we talked about the dock cameras out at the Kahiti docks, you said that you had decided to buy a new DVR and that you were going to look at replacing the cameras in the 2021 budget. Are you going to be providing multiple bid sources for that?
Say that very last, am I going to be what?
Providing multiple bid sources for those cameras? Bids
I'm going to look
from
in to
multiple
see
sources.
if the software is compatible to the software that we're currently using on the other 160 cameras I have.
Okay, terrific. And then the other thing would be, and you and I, we'll just have to get our heads together on this. I've promised to pursue getting those testing reports for the security system out there at the entrance gate. So I know that you were looking into that, so I'll just need
Yes, ma'am.
to give our guys an update on that, okay?
I understand.
Right.
Carla, can you explain that testing
Yeah,
results?
so-
What tests?
So there's, at the security system at the Kahiti gate, not only captures video of vehicles coming and going, it also captures license plates. So you can tell who's been in and out of the neighborhood. So if you have any situation like vandalism or theft or, deer poaching or whatever it may be, you can tell who's been there and who hasn't. And that information, of course, would only be provided to law enforcement. That's not provided to, property owners or anybody else. But there's been issues recently with the lights not being on, so the video's not being captured, the license plates aren't being captured, the lights apparently were able to be turned off in the guard shack building, and so a lot of times we don't know if those lights aren't properly aligned or the cameras aren't properly aligned until we have an issue, and then the footage is not useful because it hasn't been tested and maintained. So what's been requested by a group of property owners in that neighborhood is that apparently part of the system included a weekly testing process. And what we're looking for is not any footage or anything that might impose on anybody's privacy. but just a report of that testing to ensure that all the systems are working properly. So I know that Jeff was working with the company. Who's the company, Jeff? Knox Integrated or somebody like that?
Correct. That's who does my,
Who,
maintenance and my, verification of systems working properly.
so we just want to be able to know at any given time that the system has been tested and is working properly, so that when something does happen, that we may need that information or that footage for any reason, that there's going to be, good information available to us.
Thank you. Now, how long's that system been installed?
It's been there a while.
I don't know, Jeff knows the answer to that probably.
Gosh, at least 3 years.
Oh, no, it's been over 5 years.
Well, okay.
Been there ever since I've been on the board, so.
The committee
I'm
actually
fly
has that
for having
information,
fun.
Steve, and I can go back and get it. When it was purchased, when it was installed, what the modules are, all of that information is available through the committee in Kahidi.
Yeah, there's a question I just got is if it's been in there that long, haven't we had the test to show it's working?
We check it at least 3 times a week to verify that everything is working as it was supposed to.
I guess I'm confused. What are you looking for, Carla?
Well, the problem is, the reports that I got were that the lights were out for longer than a week at one time. So the committee is thinking that the testing was not done that week because there was no proper footage, no license plates captured, no lights on. And so it's hard for them to, to accept that the testing was done that week if it wasn't working properly. It was clear that it wasn't working properly. It was just on a visual inspection, you could see that it wasn't, the lights weren't aligned properly and they weren't even turned on for what the report was for more than a week. So if it's tested 3 times in a week, then that doesn't really jive with the lights not being on for a week. And so all I wanted to do is I asked, if we're testing it 3 times a week and we have a report that says we are, then I can go to that committee and say, here's your report that says this has been tested and it's working properly, as opposed to just saying it's tested and it's working properly.
So Jeff, who does the testing?
I do.
You do. Do you keep a log of when you test it?
Yes. I just created it in the last year, though.
So you could tell, somebody if they came to you, what time and what day a test was done, correct?
Correct.
Is that what you're looking for?
Well, and just, not just what time and what day the test was done, but was the CAPTCHA system working properly? Were the cameras aligned properly? Because if he tested during the day, during the week, and the lights aren't on, it might be working just fine during the day. But I think we all know when nefarious activity happens, it's not typically during the broad daylight hours. And so if it's not working at night, then, all those overnight hours are not being covered.
Bruce?
I was just questioning, have we had a situation where we've actually requested footage of this turned into the law and the law said it didn't help them?
Yes. We have had
Recently?
requests for footage to be turned in, and there's typically maybe partial information. I know in a particular instance that you may be thinking about when a trailer was stolen, they were unable to get the license plates because something wasn't aligned properly. I'm not intimately aware of all the ins and outs of that system. There are people on that committee who are.
I'll disagree. The cameras were out of line on that trailer because somebody had moved them out of line, but we were able to get enough information that they were able to identify that. And as far as I know, I have not had any request from the Sheriff's Department until 2 weeks ago when they asked for data from the dock area for where all the private slips were being vandalized, and we gave them the data that they wanted. Well, excuse me, I have the data they wanted, they never picked it up.
I understand, and I don't really necessarily want to get into a long debate about whether the footage is useful or not. I know that I have been made aware of several situations, not just in Kahidi, but also in Tanasi and other parts of the village, where that footage was not, you know, useful because we weren't maintaining our systems properly, or settings were wrong, or the storage was overriding.
I will disagree with that. I can't.
Jeff,
We
you
are
told me
maintaining our systems,
personally
but,
about those situations, so I just said to you, I don't think this public forum is probably the place to talk about that, and I'll be more than happy to talk with you about it. All I'm saying is that it's the right thing to do if we invest in these systems to make sure that they are tested and that we have logs of that, and to make sure they're working properly, because it is a big investment. We have invested in that. We count on those systems for the safety and security of our property owners and their property. So I'm not asking for a ton of stuff here. I'm just asking for a testing report and to make sure that those systems are working properly
I guess,
all the
you
time.
know, if you're looking for a report that's beyond, we did the tests on this date and this date, you got to define exactly what it is you want. You know, you want screenshots? I mean, it's.
And I will send that. I actually have the information from when the system was purchased and installed and what the testing module is. And I will send that information to Jeff. And the only thing, and we get it, we get that you can't provide, you know, testing video to property owners due to privacy, or, you know, you can't provide license plates of people who came and went due to privacy, that would always only be provided to law enforcement. We understand that. But we would, this testing information from when the system was purchased explains exactly what areas of the system can be tested and how that can be reported.
And you're telling me that we're not testing it by the standards?
That's only because I've asked repeatedly for those reports, and I
Well, if that's an issue,
can't
you know,
get
I
them.
guess here's the question I would ask is, why aren't we testing it according to the manufacturer's standards?
Okay,
That's a good question.
so this has been going on for 3 years now, no, 2 years.
No, it's 3.
No,
I've
I've
been
been
on
here,
the
I've
board
been here
almost 3
3,
years, and
I've been here
I've been
3, and,
Yeah.
and you and I were, among some other people, were contacted regarding this information back then. We
Absolutely.
resolved the issue, but apparently there's an issue with and in Kahiti that wants an answer. Here's the deal. Does anybody object to Winston make sure the tests are done according to the manufacturer's directions? We've had this done before. And what's going to happen, or could happen, is if you do it at midnight, somebody can say, I didn't do it in the day. And that appears to me what's going on here. No matter what you do, Jeff says he's got the test, he can provide the log, but it's not at the right time of day, or it's not at the right camera, or it's not the right setting. Just please, Winston, make it happen. It goes away.
Never go away.
It
hasn't.
will go away if you
No.
do the test.
Well,
It's,
all you gotta
it's
do is
like
have
he,
somebody
it's,
get a camera and
it's like you mentioned,
It's not pointed right.
you mentioned an OSHA audit. Oh, I still get the shakes from those things. When the federal government comes in and audits you, there is not a question of it won't go away or will. You're gonna do it or you're not.
No.
You're either gonna wear the mask or you're not. You're gonna be safe and lift and lower properly or you're not.
Pat.
And what I'm saying is, make it
You need to
go
come down
away.
off
You
your-
can't make it
you-
go away, Pat.
you
know,
can't
here-
make it go
and-
away.
And by the way, we're into this deep in the
Right.
Tugaloo situation. There's how many cameras there? 16 cameras. And guess what? They don't catch the whole place. And indeed, somebody can come up, knock one of the cameras off its position, and guess what? They can sneak right by it.
I understand, and
Yeah.
it's like there can be a no smoking sign on every square inch, and the backside of the tree, you didn't have one, and that's where the guy's gonna be smoking. I understand. But for the most part, there is a program on testing and procedures. Just make it happen.
That's exactly what I just said.
Put the log down. If the log is not filled out by the person that's required to do the testing, write them up, give them a second chance, then a third chance, and then they're out the door.
You're more generous than me.
I do understand that, Pat, but having worked on this, and it goes back beyond your 2 years, It goes all the way back to before even I was a president, to where we had to issue cease and desist orders against certain people because they won't let it die.
Well, if you follow the manufacturers and the prescribed industry standards and you go along with that compliance, somebody can say you didn't test it upside down, inside out, and backwards, and I can say I don't have to.
And that's my
I don't.
point. We've done that, but it won't die.
So basically, Winston, I guess I'm going to throw this back into your lap. You know, you need to verify to the board that we're testing according to the procedures that the manufacturer recommends, and we're keeping logs and records of that. I'd like you to report that back to the board at the next meeting, if you would, please. Okay, let's move on. Any others? Okay, this is when I will open it up for comment from the community. We've answered them all. Okay, great. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
No, I have one other thing, and I brought it up at every meeting, and I want to make sure that the people that are out there, I think there are 31 out there watching now, that the board did change the Blue Book, the Architectural Control Manual, that we are having as of September the 1st. What was the change we made? September 1st.
September 1st effective date. As of September 1st effective date, we're now requiring engineered drainage plans for each and every housing permit, and also requiring an engineered certification demonstrating that all components of the plans were completed prior to certificate of occupancy.
Right.
Very good.
And
I
so
just
we're-
want to make sure everybody understands that there are heavy rains and there will be drainage, but on these new properties from September the 1st on, before, during, and after, there has to be that engineered drainage plan, and the letter of occupancy will not be issued unless it has been properly adhered to and followed.
Okay, good.
So what about homes under construction? Does the tail end of that piece apply to them?
It doesn't, because the engineered drainage plan wouldn't have been submitted prior to the submission of the
But
permit
that doesn't
request.
mean there wasn't a plan.
There's always been a
Yeah.
plan, and there's always a compliance component of that. But we just can't enforce an engineered certification because an engineer didn't design the plan on the front end.
Bruce?
I would say it was on my 2 weeks in the ACC, we could have, as the ACC requested that they did, and those would be in effect, correct?
Yes, the ACC
Well,
has always had the ability to request outside assistance from engineers or others in conjunction
Yeah,
with the permit.
they've always had that ability, and indeed, at one ACC meeting, a community member made a request that there be an engineered plan for a piece of property that was contiguous to his, and the ACC ordered them to do that.
And that would have to be into
And that'll be
effect.
enforced, yeah.
Correct.
But as of September 1st, the flattest piece of property in Tellico Village
Has to have
compared
an
to the
engineered plan.
largest slope, they all have to have one. Okay,
So, are we done now?
I am.
Good. Motion to adjourn.
Motion,
Vote with your feet.